everyone. Good Monday to you all. We are coming to you from the Light Gate at the beautiful city of New Orleans at the United Public Radio Network at 107.7 FM and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 105.3 FM. We're coming to you live with Facebook, Roku, Rumble, and YouTube. We are having a wonderful show tonight, so I'm going to go really quick here. Carnation, we love you. Mwah. Thank you for being a sponsor for our groups. We absolutely adore you. Y'all need to check these people out. I use them all the time. Okay, tonight we have an interesting show, but first I'm going to start this off by telling everybody, welcome into the chat. I hope everybody's showing up and hears me talking right now because we have a little game to play with you all. We have an author, Heidi Elizabeth Hansen, who unfortunately I don't think is in chat tonight because she has work tomorrow. But she sent us 3 of her books, and we're going to give them away tonight. Halfway through the show, we're going to ask you to pick a number, and we're not going to tell you what the number range is yet. And the first person to either hit that number or at the end of the evening get closest to it is going to win all 3 books. We're doing this for Heidi because she has so wonderfully sent the money to go through the Arbor Foundation here in the U.S. to send 10 beautiful new trees to the forests that were burnt down so badly in Maui. And it's a really cool thing for her to do. And she's giving away 3 of her books tonight. So at the half hour, when we make the call signs, Preston's going to tell you the number range, and y'all try to nail that number. And whoever does it will be told at the end of the show. At that point, we're going to need your name, your address, and zip code, and all that, so that we can send you the books. Okay, we have an awesome guest tonight. Very interesting lady. I cannot wait. So Preston, I give it to you.
Thank you, Dolly. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on episode 89 of The Light Gate. I'm your host, Preston Dennett. My lovely co-host, of course, is Dolly Saffron. She's a contactee. She is the subject of my full-length book, Symmetry. You can read about her experiences there. We're super excited about our guest tonight. I'll bring her on in just a second. And yeah, we do have a little contest. We'll go over it again at the top of the hour, so anyone who missed it will hear the details again. But it's pretty cool. We're very excited about that. Thank you, Heidi. And now let's just say a quick hello to all you guys in chat. We really want to get to our guest as soon as possible. But it's because of you guys we do this show. So thank you so much for joining us. And I always love saying hi to you guys and seeing who we have here tonight. So I'm just going to do a quick rundown and see who we got. And Renee Cruz is first in line with a Happy New Year to all.
Happy New Year, Renee. Yeah.
Thank you, Renee. And Brian Morgan, a regular. Thanks for joining us, Brian. Olivia, bringing blessings, love, and light. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
As I drive home from work. Very cool. We got Joseph A. We got the Owl Man. Happy 2025. Michael Kennedy, bringing the popcorn. Scuba Maru, another regular. We love you, Scuba. Thank you for joining us. And Louise. Hello, Louise. Hope you're doing well. A snowy day. Yeah, we got a little snow falling here.
We have snow falling here too. Yep.
João Batista da Silva. Hello, gratitude. Thank you, João, for joining us.
Yeah.
And namaste. We love you. I will just leave it at that. We love you. We love you. We love you. Thank you. You are awesome. Just have my endless gratitude. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Catmaster Trash. Hello.
Hi.
Who else do we have here? We got Teresa Levin. We got Catherine Fourfeathers.
Hi, Catherine.
Saying hello to our guest as well. Thank you. Randy of the Redwoods. Why can't I hear anything? I think our sound should be good. We're not getting any.
No, we don't have any alerts.
So maybe check your sound on your computer. Go in and out. I don't know. That's strange. I'm going to click your question here, Brian. We got Kaleidoscope Eyes with a cup of chamomile tea, one of my favorite kinds of tea. We have Leah. And there's the popcorn, Michael. Thank you.
Michael. Kaylee. Tell her we love her. Okay.
We got John Schaefer's. We've got Peak. Oh, thank you, Peak, for joining us. We have Filthy. Hi, Filthy. from Spaced Out Radio. We love Spaced Out Radio.
Oh, yeah, we do too. Yes.
And yes, Cheryl is lurking in the green room. I don't know if Cheryl
Yes.
join
She's
chat if
there.
you want. Okay, who else do we have here? We have Jim. We have Steve Wonder. We have As Is.
I
We
like that.
have Alfred Miller. Very
Hello.
cool. Janie Mashburn. Love to see all of you familiar names here. A few new ones as well, I see.
Yes.
Poetic poems.
Great
We have
poetic.
Randy of the Redwoods. Laissez les bons temps rouler. Let me see. Let the good times roll.
Scroll. Yes.
I do speak French. At least I
Yes.
can read it.
He speaks it. Trust me.
Star Orchid, thank you. So
Thank
glad
you
to
very
get
much.
us live. We truly
you.
appreciate your generous donation, you guys. This helps us a lot to do this show. Helps me. It's in many ways. Trust me, it's awesome of you guys.
Fantastic.
It does
Yeah.
help us. Thank you, Bob. We truly
Hi, Bob.
appreciate it.
Thank you, Bob.
And we have Larissa Marks. Fab joining us. Always nice to see you here, Fab.
Hi.
We've
Yeah.
got quite a few people in here. I'm going to just wrap it up real quick. We got Swervin. We
Swervin.
got Anastasia. We got Fun Talks all the way from Poland.
Oh,
Dolly.
j'adorais much. Yeah.
We got Jake with some real cool font saying hello to us. We got Missin Web all the way from Philly. We got, in my opinion, we got Techno Chronic, Z Sun
Aw.
Dragon. In my
Easy,
opinion, with a wonderful, generous super sticker donation. Thank you. Thank you very much, in my opinion. We got Linda Catlett. We got Wes Decker. We got a nice big crowd already. Wow. So, yeah.
Bye, David.
It's awesome to see you all here. Jay Truthseeker, MTB 214, Christopher Harmon.
Yep.
We got Helena Nyberg. We got
Hey,
Channel
hey,
Warhorse.
Yeah.
Plato's Cave. I love that story. We have Yoga with Denise. We have Spin Beings.
Hey.
And Alex.
Hello from Wisconsin. Yeah.
At that, I'm going to introduce our guest. First, let me put up the banner for our lovely guest tonight, who is, of course, Cheryl Costa. And if you guys don't know about Cheryl, you probably have been living under a rock. She's pretty prominent here in the UFO field. She's been a frequent guest on Michelle DeRoche and Amelia Pisano's show, The Outer Realm.
Yep.
So they think very highly of her. And if they do, we certainly do.
Yes.
Yeah, check out The Outer Realm Wednesdays. Thursday and Friday. Is that right?
Wednesdays and Thursdays.
Wednesday and Thursday.
From 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Same channel. Yeah, check them out. They love Cheryl, so we do too. And let me just tell you a little bit about our wonderful guest, Cheryl Costa. She wears many hats. She's done a lot of things. She's been a reverend, a pagan priestess, a Tibetan Yogini, a trans activist, a UFO columnist, a UFO researcher and author, and a novelist. In fact, during the Cold War, Cheryl served in the Air Force and Navy as a government contractor. So she is a two-service military veteran, both in the USAF and the USN, the Navy, and a retired professional from the aerospace industry. She's very accomplished. As a journalist, she was a UFO columnist for the Roswell Daily Record and wrote the wildly popular UFO column NewYorkSkies for the SyracuseNewTimes.com. That was from 2013 to 2019. She does hold a Bachelor of Arts degree from the State University of New York in entertainment writing and production. And get this, in 2018 was awarded the UFO Researcher of the Year by the International UFO Congress. It's one of the biggest ones out there. So she's authored way more books than me, actually. Dozens upon dozens of books, some with her wife.
67. Yeah.
60, is that how many?
So, yeah.
Yeah, she's authored dozens and dozens of books, some with her wife, Linda, in a variety of genres, actually, including a series of really important UFO reference books, which provide undeniable proof that UFOs are being seen pretty much everywhere, all over the world. It's really good ammunition for anyone who's a skeptic. You can find her links in the show description. But let's just bring her on before I waste any more time.
Hi, Cheryl.
Hi.
Welcome to the Light Gate.
Hi.
We're excited.
Good
First
to
of
see you
all,
both.
yeah, let me just thank you for coming on. It's always an honor. I've been aware of you for quite some time. And yeah, Cheryl or Michelle just absolutely adores you. She's like so excited when she found out we were having you on. So
You don't realize it, but every time you've been on with Michelle, I'm in the chat every time.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
For a walk. Yeah. So.
Yeah. So this is an interesting field you're in. You've done a lot of very interesting things. I'm always curious. This is how I always like to start the show, and I warned you.
Okay.
How did you get involved? Growing up as a little kid, were you interested in these subjects? Did you have any paranormal experiences? Have you seen a UFO? What brought you to where you are today?
Okay, let's go paranormal first.
Okay.
Right. I grew up on the maternal side of my family. A line of clairvoyance comes down the maternal side of my family. And I was definitely one of the cousins that got gifted with that. And I know a lot of people are saying, wow, that must be really cool. No, it's an absolute nightmare. Trust me.
Really?
Yeah, it is. It's that kind of funny thing. You come into a room and there's one live person sitting there and six not live persons.
Okay, I can see how that would be disconcerting.
Yeah, it's annoying, especially when you're in a better conversation with a dead guy, So that's complicated.
That's
on
true.
On my paternal side of the family, I descend from Portuguese and Moorish pirates, and my grandmother on that side of the family, Costa side of the family, was the little lady in the Madeira. They're from Madeira in the Azores, right? She was one of the ladies in the village that you went to find out what kind of baby you're going to have. Vertical for boys, horizontal for girls. That kind of thing. And she's pretty colorful woman, from what I understand. I only met her like 3 times, that type of thing. Wow. She was in ill health, but I got some colorful juice on both sides of the family. My first experience with UFOs. Okay. I have to say the first experience was about 12 years old. Okay. And that's what I've said on all these other shows. Okay. My parents, one August afternoon, I was about 12. We saw a bright, shiny ball out in the western sky, 4:00 in the afternoon, and we sat there and watched it for a while. My mother said it might be a weather balloon. It might be something NASA's doing. They were rather new at that point, 65, and then my mother said it might be people from another world. And that fascinated me. And so I got back on the road. We went down the hill, turned left, go back to our hometown. And I got up. My father had a big old Chevy in those days, had those big windows in the back. I got up there and, who are you guys? And when that thing decided to leave, I didn't see an effect again like that until like 1992 with one of the Star Trek movies. It was that thing, and that a thing like that changes you when you're a kid. And at that point, you're a teenager. You don't get along. Mom and dad are stupid, remember? So my mother and I actually got close on the one topic, the UFOs. I would get magazines. Hell, if I went to for the audience, I was a boy person in those days. Okay. So I'd be down the barber shop. There was a good article about UFOs or the Bermuda Triangle sitting there in the Argosy magazine. I took it across the street, got a Xerox copy made, took it home. But it turns out, I think my second sighting was on Christmas Eve, 1971 in Cam Ranh Bay, Vietnam. I was in Vietnam. And a friend of mine and I were walking down to midnight mass. And all the runway lights were shut down. We were on a really reduced activity level, right? And holiday condition, as they used to say. And I was looking up in the western sky, gazillion stars in the sky. Remember, this is not an urban area where we were. We're out on a peninsula, Cam Ranh Bay. And there was this thing streaking across the sky. And then it stopped. And my colleague friend looked at it, says, I thought jets don't stop. I said, yeah, and helicopters don't fly that fast, at least not in those days. Okay. And I said, if that's what I think it is, it might start dancing around like a fairy in a couple of minutes. And 2 minutes later,
Well,
gone.
really reading your mind.
Neither one of us had our minds on midnight mass when we got into the channel.
Wow.
That's
Okay.
amazing.
Why did I get into UFOs? I didn't really say much about the stuff when I was growing up. I read rather regularly. And if a book came out in the school library, I got it, I read it, but I didn't really talk much about it. Okay. There were too many adults. Remember, this is the late 50s, early 60s. The parents were these father knows best types that were, oh, there's no such thing as those guys. They can't get here from there. It would take them millions of years to get here, then they'd all be dead, so I used to listen to this all the time. The problem was, I got in the Air Force, and when I was being processed for security clearance, they gave me this big list of like 150 organizations you can't be a member of and have a security clearance. And one of them was MUFON. And this is in 1970.
Yeah.
And
I guess I'm out then.
well, yeah, that was the deal, because my mother had gotten a mimeograph application in 1969 in the mail. Okay. So back in those days, back when it used to be APRO, the Illinois chapter of APRO broke off and became what was the mother seed of MUFON at that time. And so I just kept my mouth shut. I was in the Air Force for 2 years. Served in Vietnam for one of those years, and my hometown got wiped out in a flood, so I got to come out. I got to get out. I wasn't done with what I was doing, so I went and tried to go back in the Air Force. But by this time, it was almost like 75. They were trying to get people out of Vietnam as fast as they could, right? Project Hammer Draw, they used to call it. And so I was walking out of the recruiting station, and this Navy recruiter said, "Kid, come here. I got a deal for you," So, and he signed me up for a 6-year package of high-tech stuff.
Wow.
And I had a blast in the Navy. I was in, it's almost 10 years when you count the fact that I went in 74 and got out in 82, and in the active reserve, got out a first-class petty officer, made rank really good, in what I did. And I was an intelligence specialist on a nuclear submarine. I fingerprinted electronic signatures, and I was one of the 3 people on our ship that was trained to be a periscope photographer. And it was interesting work. But submarines will make you a little bit crazy,
I can't
you notice
imagine.
twitch.
No.
But I had a lot of fun with it. I enjoyed it, and that's pretty much the solid aspect of how I got there. But I avoided the UFO stuff for years because, again, I went from the Navy into a civilian career in the aerospace industry. Okay. And I had been to film school by this time. And so I got in there, and I was making industrial movies for IBM Federal Systems. It was a Fortune 100 company. And I was a professional filmmaker for the better part of 6 years, until me and everybody in my shop cracked under the load, because these engineering managers thought, well, you guys come to work every day and play making all that video, and they didn't see us working 12 hours a day. Because especially on a shoot day, you got to be over there 3 hours before the shoot, setting everything up, testing everything. And then you're there for another 3 hours or 4 hours after the shoot, taking everything down. And they didn't see hours and hours and hours in the editing suite and that type of thing. So we were making 2 a month, and they pushed us to 3 a month, and everybody fried. I left.
Don't blame you.
I got offered a job down in a submarine technical support squadron within IBM Federal Systems, and I was down there, and I answered the freaking phone when that one particular phone lit up and rang. It was like an admiral or somebody on the other end saying, my submarine's broke. Would you send somebody over with parts and equipment? So that's what I did. So I had clearance all that time, and it kept getting higher. So I really couldn't talk about UFOs, and they retired me in 2011. And I waited about another 2 years for the clearance to lapse, about 18 months for it to lapse. And shortly after that, I went out and started going to newspaper editors and pitched the idea of how would you like a weekly UFO column? Of course, 5 of the guys laughed me out of their office. One of the guys had the security escort me to the door.
You're kidding. Oh my God.
No, and I was called all kinds of kook nut, crackpot, the whole thing. And then I got a phone call from a guy I had worked with. He said he called me up and he says, "Hey Cheryl, I'm the editor-in-chief over here at this weekly. Come on over, let's talk." So I got over there, and we're about the same age, and we started talking about books we had read when we were in high school. And it was like Jack Anderson stuff, and it was all these other cool people who wrote the stuff back in the 60s. Okay, and he says, "You got a sympathetic heart here. I can't write this column, but you can." So I said, "Okay, fine." He said, "I'll try you out for a month." I pitched him 4 slides. I had them on paper and just showed him PowerPoint slides, so to speak. And he said, "I'll try you out for a month." And of course, he had this tone to his voice like the Dread Pirate Roberts, almost most likely to kill you in the morning. And the guy gets it. Thank you, Catherine. And so a month later, he calls me up. He says, "Get over here. We need to talk." I said, "Oh, that's it." He said he'd try me out for a month. Okay, I got that month, right? I get over there. I'm late to the meeting because the parking lot's torn up. Okay, I finally found a place to park. I'm 10 minutes late to the meeting. I walk in. He's in the conference room, got a big conference table there. All the columnists are sitting around the table, this big, long table, right? And he stops, looks at me, points at me and says, "There's our rock star."
Huh?
And I said, "What are you talking about?" He says, "You've been here 4 weeks and you're pulling more web page views than all of them combined."
Wow.
Oh, gosh.
And he says, "Just keep doing what you're doing. Just keep doing what you're doing." And I mean, as the paper started declining a bit, we were having rounds of buyouts and layoffs and things like this. And they kept coming to me, "Don't worry, you're not going anywhere." And I was right.
What publication was this?
Syracuse New Times in Syracuse, New York. It was one of those little weekly free papers you got when you walked out of the store, the store or the bar or the convenience store or something like that. I was rolling up my sleeves here, sir, and not having a connection. Although, so that's what I did. And people say to me, "Cheryl, it must have been fun writing a weekly column in a newspaper." It's an 800-word term paper due every Thursday. And I had your book about UFOs in New York, Preston. And it was on my desk along with a couple of other ones that I had. And every now and then when I was looking for something, I needed something to write about, I'd thumb through and look at those newspaper clips you had in your book, and say, "Oh, there's one. I'll go research that on the web." And on what he wrote, so.
That's exactly why I put that together, because all these accounts are getting lost to posterity.
Yeah.
And it was a very historical, objective put together book. Just trying to, and I only skimmed the surface of what's out there. I mean, New York is major in terms of encounters.
It's in the top 10 states. Okay.
Yep.
It varies from year to year, but typically about number 6 or 7. The goofy thing about all the UFO research, is people ask us, why did you guys start coming out with statistics books? Well, the truthful answer to that is Moyezhina, that's Russian for my wife, says to me, "You're running out of ideas, aren't you?" And I said, "Yeah." He says, "Why don't we start adding things up? You've been doing it like here for the counties here in New York State. Why don't you start doing it for like the United States?" So I managed to talk MUFON into giving me a range of dates out of their database. I didn't want the write-ups. All I wanted was what, when, where, what date, and what shape it was. And they gave it to me, and I was able to capture UFO desk reference, right? Not desk New Fork, National UFO Reporting Center. Theirs was right there online. Okay.
Right.
I downloaded what I could of that for the window of time I was dealing with, 2000 to 2015, a 15-year sample. It took us 8 months to make the databases work with each other, and they didn't. Okay. So we had to literally change all the fields and everything. And then we started crunching data, and we published the first book was UFO Sightings Desk Reference 2001 to 2015. And that got the New York Times attention. That's the pink book. That's the later one. The white one is the one you want. I know you got it there.
Oh, yeah, I do. Hold on a second.
And
keep talking. I'll bring it.
And Dolly, make sure you ask me why the book is pink.
I will.
There's a cute story there. But the deal was the New York Times got a copy of this thing, and they came out on the still available out there online, 24 April 2017 or 25 April 2017. The article was titled "People Are Seeing UFOs Everywhere, and this book proves it." Okay, and this was covering all 50 states right down to the county level. Okay. And people started saying, well, I want to know what's going on in my town. So during 2020, when we were all dressed up and had no place to go, okay, I started working on the pink book. But we had learned a lot when we did the white book, okay, about how to work with the data and all this stuff. So we made this book, and
White pink.
I'll tell you that in a moment. Okay, while the first book only went down to the state and county level, we decided with this book to go down to the zip code level.
Ooh.
Zip code.
Okay.
Zip
I'll
code.
tell you a lot. Okay.
Yeah. So we were able to do this. Why is it pink? Well, it's 2019. We didn't know COVID was coming. I got a phone call from some of our activists and that's another term for them, lobbyists in Washington, D.C. I will refer to them as the usual suspects. Okay. And they called me up and said, hey, Rubio's got a bill in process, and he's going to try and attach it to some kind of continuing spending bill. He says, we'll probably have congressional hearings in 2020 or 2021. Okay. And he says, you girls are the only people who've ever done the statistics. Would you be willing to testify before Congress?
Wow.
Said, well, they subpoena us. We don't have really a choice, but sure. Okay, fine. No problem. So we get off the phone, and Linda's looking at me and said, we both had government contracting careers for over 30 years. We spent our careers trying not to have to testify before Congress. But we got talking about this over, we do English tea in this household. Okay. So we're doing afternoon tea, and we get talking about it. And he says, I said, Linda, picture this. He says, this thing is probably going to be on C-SPAN. Okay. Something like that. They'll be interviewing people for these congressional hearings about UFOs, and everybody, no, I don't care how much they say they don't believe in them. They want to know. Okay. So we said, okay, fine, great. She says, you know what these hearings are like. We both do. We've seen them. They're up there thumbing through things while somebody's testifying. Okay. She says, I want people to know that 2 women made that book. I said, what do you want to do? Make the front cover fuchsia? Brighten up the flag in aircraft? And she says, yeah, let's do that. And that from the beginning, we kept our logo UFO. That sketch was made for us by an artist. I gave her 5 pictures, and the one she ended up drawing that UFO right there. Mm-hmm. I told her I want a pen and ink. I don't want fancy commercial art. I want pen and ink. And I want it to look like somebody sketched this darn thing on a pizza box or on a napkin while they're being questioned by somebody. Okay. And that shape right there is actually what Betty and Barney Hill was kind of describing.
That's right. Exactly.
Okay? So that's our trademark for this stuff. And
this is brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Do you know how many women are in this field?
Oh,
Somebody
yeah.
had drawn it before Congress.
Yeah.
You know, it's
But
amazing.
You know who he dedicated it to?
Who?
She's Coral.
Coral
founded-
Lorenzen.
Coral
Lorenzen,
Lorenzen, yeah, okay.
who founded APRO. So
Okay.
we had the first woman who ever developed a database for the UFO community.
Wonderful.
Perfect.
I love Coral.
So we wanted to make sure that the women computers were in this, as they say in the astronomical business, right?
Right.
So that's what we did. And that book has been a hot seller for years.
That's
It comes and goes, but it has been the most consistent one we have next to my magic book, and that's about it. Now, the one for your listeners, the folks in the chat room. Okay, you want a book about your state? All you do, don't use Google. Go into Amazon book search and type UFOs and whatever name of your state is. We'll say like UFOs in New York and where to find them. Just those wordings. UFOs in Cincinnati, in Ohio, and where to find them. Right, exactly. Type that in and then drop in your state's name instead of Ohio. And you hit the enter and your book will flash up just like that. Okay. And there's one for every single state and it goes right down to the zip code and village level.
This is an enormous amount of work. I can't even imagine.
Linda stood up in front of one of the major conferences. Oh, it was the Arkansas conference when I told the audience what I was working on. And she looked at the audience and says, it'll take her 5 years to do. I did it in 18 months.
Wow.
Okay.
That's amazing.
And well, I took courses in college to be a methods engineer. So I knew, I could come up with that. Now that one you just had there, the one with the
Gadzooks, yeah.
Gadzooks and Ophelia, that's one of the most popular play. I am a published playwright. I've had 15 published plays. Some of them have been produced internationally, including this one. And you've never heard of me. So you know what it was? If this was made into a movie, it would be a movie by Rob Reiner, not by Cheryl Costa. And the 2 seconds my name would be on the screen, most people wouldn't even see it because they're chomping on popcorn, right? So that's the deal. This one here is about a Norse god that comes down and inspires a young lady who's flunking out of art school. Turns out it's Janis Joplin. And he turns her into the what was the term we used in the she wanted to be the warrior priestess of the blues.
Actually, yeah.
Very cool.
So that's kind of my history here. When I got out of the service, I had gone to film school, obviously, at some point in my past, and when I got out of in Lockheed, they wouldn't pay for any more college unless it was an engineering course, and that was in the theater arts, and they wouldn't pay for it. So I didn't get to finish the degree until 2000. They retired me in 2011, and I didn't finish the degree. I applied to one of the colleges in upstate New York that will take any credit you got, okay, and then have you do some residency. And I had a lot of fun with the 30 hours of residency, and I got my degree of entertainment writing in 2015. And I've been told I have a master's degree because one of the state universities took all my papers because I was a trans activist from 2011 to from 1981 to 2011. I was a trans activist. I'll give you a flavor of what my contribution was. In the early 80s, the trans community was probably 20 years behind the gay community in getting visibility and recognition. And in those days, still in the DSM or the diagnostics manual, homosexuality, any flavor, cross-dressing, being a transsexual, all that stuff was considered a mental disorder in those days. Okay. So what happened was, to make this short, there were some of us who got outed on a serious level. About 6 of us of the board. There was 14 members of the board, International Board for Gender Education, and I was one of the members. And I got outed in a big way. and literally nationally, it ended up in one of the tabloids, and there I was in all my finery on the third page of this tabloid. I got a phone call from a friend of mine who said, "Oh my, Cheryl, actually they called me by my dead name and said, oh, your sister's in the tabloid right across from the three-headed baby story." So I walked down to the drugstore and there it was, and of course my grandmother and my 6 maternal aunts all bought it at the supermarket. They knew who it was, so okay. So the bottom line was I was outed. About the same time, a guy, this was during the Reagan administration, the 80s. Okay. They were trying to purge everything from intelligence services and the military of gay people. Okay. If you were in the military, they would honeypot you somehow and catch you and then arrest you and throw you out with a dishonorable discharge. Okay. The intelligence agencies were doing something very similar. They were being told they had to get rid of these people. Of course, their argument back was these people can go some places we can't, normal people can't go. Okay. Okay. So back in the day, the word transsexual was casted around because it was part of a diagnostic. Okay? Cross-dresser, drag queen, all that was considered a diagnostic term. There was a term used among doctors, within just doctors, in doctor circles. Sorry about that. I talk like I'm an Italian here. It's called transgender. It didn't really have a diagnostic reference to it. It was just a general term that they used, to keep away from the diagnostics. So a doctor who was on the board of this organization said, "Hey, why don't we use that?" So the 6 of us who were out decided we're going to go out there and be in-your-face activists. Okay. So that's what we did. And we started putting the word transgender. And of course, the talk show hosts didn't know what that was because they knew about these diagnostic things. Okay. This is a new term, so that got to be she. And so when this guy from one of the defense investigative agencies that checks you out for clearances said, "Well, we think you can be blackmailed. We're going to take your clearance away." Again, remember, this is that whole Reagan thing, right? And I said to the guy, I says, "Well, I can fix that." He's, "I don't think you can, but what he's saying?" I said, "Give me 3 weeks. I can fix it." He says, "Okay, I'll be back in 3 weeks. I'll turn your clearance off then." So he comes back 3 weeks later. I threw a VHS tape on the desk and said, "I'm the blonde on Phil Donahue. I'm the redhead on Gary Collins."
Wow.
And I made copies and I gave it to all the guys I work with. They took them home and watched their wives. Everybody knows about it here at work. So 4 days later, they sent me a letter from the Department of Defense stationery. It says, "Well, you clearly can't be blackmailed anymore. We questioned your good judgment. We want you to talk to a Department of Defense certified psychiatrist."
Okay.
And I wrote him and I said, "If you fail to do it, we'll turn your clearance off now." And I said, "Okay, fine, great. Tell you what," I said, "just make sure you send me to somebody who has sex and gender experience because not every psychiatrist understands it."
Right.
Okay. Or is hostile to it. And they said, "Okay, fine." They did. And they sent me to this guy. We talked for 25, 30 minutes and he sits back. People could smoke in an office in those days, right? Sat back, he picks a drag. He says, "Cheryl, you're saner than the people who sent you here." And so they sent me up for a full set of psychologicals. This was like the third whole thing of psychologicals that I got. And it came back. A perfectly healthy woman took this test and she should be a member of Mensa. So I kept my clearance and it got elevated. So,
wow. So you're working on several fronts. UFOs are not accepted and all this.
Oh yeah. And see, so here we go. And this will lead into one of the other books. A couple of years ago, I had some strange illnesses after the COVID era, and I tried to lose weight because I was diabetic, and I managed to lose 40 pounds, and I got sick. And my doctor, regular civilian doctor, couldn't figure it out. He said, "Aren't you a veteran?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Why don't you go talk to the VA?" So we talked to the VA. They ran tests. Of course, they do a real thorough intake. Hey, you got a 60-year-old case of PTSD, and you think,
Yeah. Okay.
So
Oh my God.
it was Agent Orange.
Agent Orange.
Oh,
So I got Agent Orange. I had Agent Orange in my fat, and as I was burning the fat to lose weight,
Right back in your blood.
it made me sick. Okay.
oh my
So
God.
I have to do it very gradually, as they say. But after they screened me, they got me in. I'm in with a VA shrink 3 times a month. Okay. Now, that makes it sound like I'm looping crazy. No, I'm in with a group, in 2 different groups. And I'm in and I have private session with a therapist every month. Not therapist, a full-blown psychiatrist. And she says part of your PTSD is coming from your intelligence background, because you ended up working in that stuff and you're carrying too many freaking secrets, aren't you? And I said, yeah. She says, it's eating at you, isn't it? I said, it gives me nightmares and fits. And she says, we've got to do something with this. So she says, well, wait a minute. I looked you up on the web. You're a writer. She says, why don't you do some cathartic writing? So I wrote the second oldest. I don't know if they'll hold in for.
I've got it.
You got it there.
I'll pull it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I wrote this book, The Second Oldest Profession. And what is the second oldest profession? The second oldest profession is the intelligence business. It's got got less morals than the first profession. And
Good point.
Yeah.
Wow.
but the problem I run up against with this book is that anybody who didn't know me think, wow, what a fantastic novel. Okay. You've got another little slide there you can throw up there. Anybody who knows me read the damn thing. You've got another slide there with those little commentaries.
Oh, okay. Give me a second.
Okay. So this basically covered 44 years of the protagonist's life. Okay. And she was a trans person who got recruited into an intelligence agency. And of course, you see these things here, old friend. Why haven't you those things you haven't told me about your life? This novel feels like a memoir. This novel reads like an autobiography.
Are you sure this isn't an autobiography?
So that's what I've been up against. Did
it work? Was it therapeutic?
Oh, very much so. And what's been even more therapeutic is that I covered from her recruitment into the clandestine services to about 10 years after she retired. They came to her and said, we need this one last mission. And in fact, the remark was, why are you calling us? We got AARP cards and we get Medicare. I mean, why are you calling us? And the answer to the 2 of us that they recalled was, you're both still breathing. And and the people the person
that was
no, what the deal was somebody wanted to defect from Mr. Putin, and the 2 of us were the only 2 that actually had FaceTime with this guy, and he would see as a friendly face.
Okay.
And so that's the context of it. So like I said, I've had a colorful life.
Very.
So,
damn.
So did you get any pushback from publishing this novel in terms of security and all of that?
No, it was well sanitized, and my lawyer. Hey, I must say this. Okay, the lawyer said, okay, this is what we put in there. Okay, stand by 20 seconds here. Where is it? It's right there on the second page. Okay, this book is a work of fiction. Names, characters, places, institutions, businesses, incidents that are a product of the author's imagination or used fictionally, in resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, actual events, locales, businesses, institutions, government agencies, are entirely coincidental.
That's a little bit longer than most.
There you go. Yeah. All right.
Yet.
But we can learn a little bit from the novel, I'm assuming.
She's not allowed to say.
There's limits to what I can talk about. But I can talk about it, but I can't talk about certain parts of it. Some of my best friends from Washington, D.C. read the book, and he said, "Oh my God, Cheryl, now we know why you would disappear for 6 months or a year at a time."
Oh,
Okay, this type of thing. So that's the deal. And the funny thing about this is, what's beautiful about it is it's from a woman's perspective, because we see James Bond. He's always up. They always got a picture of James Bond up there with the big cannon, all this kind of stuff. The lady in this thing, Moira Stewart, aka Mashenka Petrova, Professor Petrova, is she's trans woman. Okay, went through some goofy stuff, and she doesn't use a weapon. Her job is schmooze. Her job is not to steal secrets, but to sit there and just listen to some drunken sailor or drunken officer or drunken government representative or something like this, and just pass along the gossip and anything else he mumbles.
Right.
It's about developing back channels as well. During the Cuban Missile Crisis, there was a attaché at the Soviet consulate who came over and talked to one of the ABC anchors over a drink. And that probably prevented us from all being nuke green. Okay. So this agency's effort was not like the CIA's, which was mine information and protect. This agency was set up to do that old school schmooze and have back channels type of thing. And that's what I spent a great deal of my time doing. Back when I was 30 years younger and 30 pounds lighter. We were all babes. We were all babes back then, baby.
Time marches on, unfortunately.
Yeah. And the top side starts becoming a dowsing rod, So. I'll answer your questions. I'll try to give you short answers.
Oh my God.
So this is kind of interesting. The drivers and influences of UFO sighting reports.
Yeah. I've had a lot of people trying to tell me this is BS. And I said, hey, I've got the data. What do you got? Okay. All right. Primary drivers. Every state has these drivers driven by population size. Yeah. Everybody knows there's a lot more of them around high population areas. And of course, the old theory was more eyes on the sky. Okay. But temperate weather turned out to be a driver. Leisure time hours turned out to be a driver because while people think, oh, everybody sees them in the daytime.
No.
70% of them are seen after dark.
Right.
Okay. And to see these things after dark, they're not downtown where the population center. They're out in the burbs, the suburbs, and the unincorporated communities further out in the rural communities. Okay.
Yes.
That's where 75 to 80% of the nighttime sightings are.
Third contact methodology. Yes.
Yeah. You got to be out there. And the data backed all of this up. Hours of darkness was a driver, and observer access to broadband. Places that did not have very much broadband, that really need rural broadband, as we say right now, not just for people to get on Facebook and things like that, but for think of all the industries that go on in an agricultural state. Okay. They need broadband out in those areas that are not being served. So these were the principal drivers. Now, secondary influencers aren't necessarily every place. Proximity to large bodies of water. I was sitting on a talk radio program one night right after the White Book came out back in 2017. And, I was so fast making all the charts, I really never really had a chance to study them while Linda was building the book. Okay. And I was sitting there with the census map, all the states in their districts and the little arrows pointing at what the state with the number of sightings they had. And I noticed that all the states that were touching major bodies of water, like the Great Lakes, they had them in the many thousands of sightings over that 15-year period. Moved 2 states away and was in the low hundreds.
Yeah. You want to know why?
Go ahead.
Because when ETs are coming into atmosphere from outer space, after they've light gated in, They got to cool off or they'll kill people. And a large body of water is the excellent first choice for that because they can dive in, cool off, and come back out. They also use water for their batteries. And you forgot one, trunk lines. They love trunk lines because every now and then you got to recharge.
What do you call trunk lines?
Huge power, major power lines.
Yeah.
Oh,
Come down for a charge. That's how they cause the
power failures. Yeah.
The East Coast power failure back in the 60s.
Exactly. You got that right. Yep.
I remember that. I was about 5th grade. Going,
Yeah.
Mom, my mother, I was a ham radio operator, and the lights started dimming and browning out in the house. My mother was just yelling up the stairs, "What are you doing up there?" Yeah.
The technology wasn't that good back then, and they really soaked them. So yeah.
You found a connection to toxic ecosystems. That's interesting.
Okay. Do you know Tom Conwell?
No, I don't.
I do. I know who it is.
Tom Conwell is a pal of mine from upstate New York, and he took the white book and he took this wall and he put a big map on it. I mean, a real, like most the size of a wall, and he started sticking hat pins into it, just destroyed the wall. And he found out that they were they seem to be extremely interested in our toxic ecosystems. Now, when we talk about it, people think, oh, nuclear power plants. No, they're not. I've got the address for all 55 commercial nuclear reactors in the United States. They're not there. Okay. Where they are is all the brown fields, all the dead coal mines, all the burning coal mines, all the dead oil fields, dead gas fields, strip mines, all that stuff. That's where they're monitoring very carefully all of our waste areas. They really seem to be concerned with that stuff.
Yeah, they are, because it leaches into populated areas and they're following the flow of it. They actually map it out and they know who's going to get the worst from it in each geological location. And it is serious to them because they're literally over time have been watching us poison each other. And
they know we're killing the planet. They know we're killing the planet. Yeah.
We're also affecting citizens all over the world with this. And there's an actual how do I put this? There's a correlation to who's getting it and who's not. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They divert from areas where they don't want it to go, and then they divert highly to areas where they want it to go. And that's planned on the people on this planet. And they watch that. It's horrifying to them that they do that. They know all about it.
Now, have you heard?
Someone's watching it.
Yeah. Have you heard the term out of this world healthcare?
Yes.
Okay. A person, when I was still writing my column, a guy I know, he went in to see his doctor. He's diabetic like me. So, he was in to see his doctor. It was summertime. So he had really shorts on and sandals. And when I was in there for this checkup, the doctor was going to do, look at the diabetic's feet, that type of thing. And he glanced at the guy's leg and he says, and this guy's in the UFO community. Okay. And he looks at him and he says, oh, why didn't you tell me you'd had arthroscopic surgery? He says, I haven't. No, this is arthroscopic surgery. And he could have been in a wheelchair 2 years before. But somebody, as we say, out of this world healthcare fixed him up.
Right.
And it's happened to a number of people who are leaders and researchers in the UFO community.
Yes. Absolutely. Yes.
Okay. And I was coming back from a conference in Laughlin, Nevada, and there was a medical doctor sitting in that back 12th seat with me, and we talked our ears off on that one. Okay. So he gave me quite the education.
Wow.
So,
yeah, I wrote a whole book on UFO healing cases. I'm well aware of them.
Yes, I bet you are. Yes, that's right. You did do that. So
okay.
The last two elements of that. Okay. Proximity geological fault lines for sure.
Yes.
They follow the fault lines. They're really interested in the Madrid fault going down to the middle Midwest. They're haunting the caldera of Yellowstone and of course Hawaii. They've kind of parked out there.
Mount Popo in Mexico.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that one. Yeah, I've seen pictures of the damn things going in. The volcano. Okay, high visibility media reports. And that was something that was discovered by Project Blue Book. But their assessment of it was there was a UFO sighting and reported it in the paper on Tuesday, Wednesday time frame. There'd be a whole slug more of sighting reports on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And they figured that was copycat reporting. I
Linda and I went back into National UFO Reporting Center since it's a public database, and we had identified in our database, we had identified using statistical crunching that there were certain places. People tend to think that the hot spots are someplace where you can set your clock by. It's like a bus schedule. They're showing up here every night. That's more folklore. Okay,
Right.
There are places that don't have Indiana, place that averages maybe 3 a week for the whole state. Okay, had 25 in one day. Okay, April
What day was
16th.
that? I'm just curious. Do you know? What
Right.
day was that?
Oh,
April 16th, 2008. Okay, it's now known as the Kokomo Lights. Okay? And there were many more sightings than were ended up in the database. It was a massive amount. So we have identified about 175 of them. Would you believe I have pitched television producers? You want a good television program? Let's call it UFO Roadshow. We'll send an advanced man to one of these places. We'll rent the VFW hall or the local movie theater or something like that. I'll come in and do a conference grade UFO presentation. Yeah. We got cameras there. Have them sign releases, and we'll get Ma and Pa disclosure.
Very cool.
Because if the cameras are there, people will get excited and they'll tell you about Aunt Tilly's sighting out in the cornfield, whatever. That's what we were going for. Travel Channel, Science Fiction, Science Channel, HBO, a couple other networks have since gone by the wayside. Nobody was interested. That or somebody leaned on them.
Shit. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Now,
right. Well, wait, before we keep going, we do need to take a quick station ID break. Because we don't want to let this get too far.
No,
I want to let you all know that you are watching The Light Gate. I'm your host, Preston Dennett. My lovely co-host is Dolly Saffron. Our guest tonight is Cheryl Costa. Boy, she's talked about some very interesting things. Her career in the Navy and the Army, and some of the amazing
not the Army, Air Force.
Navy and the Air Force. Get that right. Air and Sea. Land lover. Air and Sea. Okay. All right.
Very sorry. But all the amazing books that she's put together, which basically prove that UFOs are being seen pretty much everywhere. Some really important work about her work as a columnist with UFOs, her work as a trans activist, some really interesting stories. We've got a lot more to share, but I do want to let you know that we are streaming live on several platforms. We are, of course, on YouTube. We are on Roku. We are on Rumble. We're also streaming live on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 107.7 FM and 105.3 FM from the beautiful city of New Orleans. And we do want to give a shout out to Carnation. Thank you for supporting us and all the other Monday evening shows. We truly appreciate it. We love you. And as we promised at the beginning of the show, we are doing a little contest giveaway. Now, we do have these 3 books from Heidi Hansen. Super excited that she donated to us. We're getting trees planted, Dolly, is that correct?
Yes, there are 10 trees. If y'all want to see it, put it on Messenger to me. You want to see that we've actually done that. I have the paperwork for it. We're planting 10 trees in the forests of Maui after those big, huge fires, and it will be within the next few weeks that they go in.
All right. And these 3 books are going to go to the first audience member, the first one of you guys watching our show tonight who guesses the correct number. Between 1 and 1,000. So you can pop that in chat. Give your guess. Please, one guess only, because I am just one guy trying to watch all these numbers fly past me. Right. So I've got my pen ready. So yeah, just mark it down. Tell us your number, and at the end of the show, we will announce who is closest. So let me just keep a careful eye on that, because the numbers are coming in already.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, flying.
All right. Dolly, take it away. I'm going to have to take a close look at what's going on here.
Okay, so Cheryl, the data that you collected, I'm really interested in this. And then we're going to start asking you questions after they stop talking about numbers here. In your data, what is the most significant thing that you understand that you've understood about ET coming in And what is that? What is it that you've noticed? The number one thing that hangs out there to you that blew you away?
Okay. It's not published in any of the books.
Okay.
Okay. There was a professor on the West Coast in California. He's a retired astronomer.
Okay.
And he originally came to us at the International UFO Congress after the White Book came out and said, wow, could you do some special work on a particular area? Okay. And he needed to be able to take it down to the zip code. And at that point, we were down to the county level, and that was it.
Okay.
All right. I reached out to him. I said, would you like to try something? I can't do it because I don't have the software for it, but you probably do, because he's a astronomer professionally.
Right.
Taught physics and astronomy. And I said, there's this effect called the 1330 effect. Remote viewers work with it. Okay. It's a astronomical time, 1330. Okay. For an hour either way.
Right.
Psychic gifts can be amplified from anywhere from about 150 to 500%. Right there in the center line of 1330. And I said, I wonder if that has anything to do with it. He says, tell you what, let's try a couple of the smaller states. So the data would be smaller to work with. But he says, I'll go ahead and convert all the times. Give me a copy of the database. He's the only person that I've ever given the database to. And he went in there and converted the times, allowing for time zones, daylight savings time, all this kind of stuff. Okay. And he came back to me. He had done 3 states. And the consistent thing was peak time was not when 1330 was.
No, not at all.
Okay. But the peak time was when the galaxy was directly overhead.
Yes.
18 to 1830. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, people say, well, yeah, you can just go out there and look at the stars. I said, no, 6 months out of the year, you can't do that.
Right.
Okay. It's light, and so, I mean, literally, we were sitting, Linda and I were sitting here one night. Says, I wonder what is doing that. And she literally took the approach, and sorry if it sounds a little childish, but she says, maybe there's like a portal.
Yeah.
Because the galaxy is directly overhead. Maybe the core of the galaxy is directly overhead. Maybe there's a portal and these things just poop out at that time, That's why people see them, And that is literally the best explanation we have.
I'm so glad I asked this question, because my contact told me 5 minutes ago to ask you this. And now I know why. When the galaxy is up, we are able to light gate pinpointing certain configurations in the galaxy over our solar system. Okay. And it's easier for us to hear signal from those vantage points outside of our solar system in the galaxy. We go by frequency. Earth has a particular frequency, and it all amplifies for us when we're in a certain position. Now, you gotta remember, we're coming light years across the galaxies to get to here, and the Milky Way is bloody damn big. Okay, and we're mostly moving in and around through the Milky Way galaxy, from Orion, basically most of them, and others near the Delphi systems. Okay, which is not in our galaxy; it's a galaxy of its own on the other side of it. That's way the heck out there. But when our galaxy is prominent, we get a better fix on frequency. Okay. And that's when we light gate. It's not a portal. We create an actual light gate. And Einstein was right about one thing. It's like folding space. That's the idea you can use. But when you go extra dimensional, when you come out the dimensional, there's no time space at all. And you're folding everything in between it by going from this signal, this frequency, to this frequency. It's all frequency and light driven, and we light gate through that. And it's like we fold it through. And that's why. That's exactly why. There you go. Big answer.
Now, the reason the 1330 effect works. Okay. I was in the monastery at that time. I used to be a Buddhist nun. I'm an ordained yogini. Okay.
Yeah.
They found me. I didn't find them. They found me.
Okay.
And literally said, we know you.
Yeah.
Okay. So that led to 7 years in the monastery, the buzz cut, Miss Corporate 500, big hair, big nails, big makeup, suddenly for 7 years went like lights out. Okay. I was in monastery and in 95, 97, when this 1330 thing was published first by the same guys who developed remote viewing,
Yeah.
So I was sat down with one of my monastic brothers, and we were both astronomers. I do radio astronomy as a hobby. He did optical astronomy. And we were trying to figure out what the deal was with that. Okay. And the one thing we kept coming up with was the galaxy wasn't overhead. And when they made that initial paper out there, and got into the news and things like this, a lot of the columnists that were remarking about this is mundane columnists out there in the newspaper saying, well, we all thought the galaxy would be directly overhead and viewing us with this ability to have higher psychic powers, but it's not overhead, so it doesn't count for anything. But no, we looked at it and realized all of the galaxy was on the horizon and there's nothing overhead except the Virgo constellation, and
Right.
specifically of 13 at that particular time was Spica.
Yeah.
Or Spica.
Yeah.
So as people, those of us who are very deeply grounded in the mystical arts, how do I want to say? Okay. When you wish upon a star, doesn't matter who you are, but they never tell you what star it is. Of course, the Disney people will say it's the first star you see at night.
No.
Okay. No, it's Virgo.
Virgo.
Okay. It's Virgo. And so the way, if you read the words to that particular song, if your heart is in your dream, no desire is too extreme. Okay. And basically the whole idea in your dream, if you're in a deep meditative state. Okay.
Yes. Also, if more people are doing that at the same time, you literally all feed off of one another's abilities and you amplify together.
Oh yeah.
Or can amp up at certain times of the day. And they've proven that by having universal
transcendental meditation folks prove that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's
I put that in my book.
Our own gain. Yes.
Okay, I put it in the book. Preston, you've got the book up there, Magical Musings of a Rogue Witch, available on Amazon.
There you go.
This was supposed to be my retirement book. Okay.
Oh.
And well, yeah, here I am, 7 years later, and I'm sort of still doing it. But I describe it in there, and I explain it for a whole bunch of witches, and I say, hey, if you really want to kick the pants out of your spell, do it at this time. Now, of course, I had a lot of cynical people say, well, I'm not going to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to do the same just so I can get the thing. I says, you will if it's that important to you. This is my flavor on the whole thing. Do I wait to that period of time every day for the thing? No, I don't. Okay. I do my meditations at the time I do my meditations, usually about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Okay. But what people don't get is all the high pagan holidays.
Right.
The 1330 effect plays into them. I'll give you an example. When is it high on Halloween? Noontime. What did the Catholics teach us? Hours of the Angelus. And that's 6 o'clock in the morning, noon, 6 o'clock at night, in some places even midnight. Those tides synchronize at that season for the 1330 effect. Right. So if they got you doing a prayer every day at noon on a particular day, sooner or later you're going to hit that window.
Right.
Okay. So this is an amazing effect. So if you are pagan, Wiccan, any of that kind of thing, and you want to get a real edge up on your magic, get this book. It's very inexpensive, and all the best people put blurbs on the back and said, wow, this is new stuff. And one of the reviews said, she packs a lot into this and tells us stuff that other people tend to leave out. Okay.
I love that. That's awesome. Yeah.
So that's it. Okay. Other questions, please. Oh, by the way, I got to show you my t-shirt.
Wait. Stand up again. I can't see it.
Well, okay. Here, I just yanked my headphone out. Here's the thing.
Oh, super cute. I like that.
You notice it's Cyrillic.
Super cute. Yes.
Okay. That's it's the school shirt for MGU, or Moscow University.
Nice. Very nice. That's cool.
Okay.
Preston, have we got a number yet? Can we go on or?
Yeah, I think, I'm going to give people just a little bit more time, but we've got a winner, it looks like.
Okay, so you're my star man on the questions in the chat.
All right. Well, we'll get to the questions in chat in just a second, but I just brought up this book, The UFO Beat, which you mentioned earlier.
Okay.
Yeah, this when the newspaper went under, I was never actually an employee. I was a subcontractor to them as a freelance.
Yeah.
So the when the paper went under on June 26, 2019, I called up the publisher and I said, "Hey, can I come over to your server and harvest all my articles, the final edited versions? I'd like to publish a collection." He said, "Sure, come on over, grab a thumb drive, come on over." And I downloaded the 7 years worth of weekly articles.
That's a great idea. I did that with my own articles in my Not From Here series, and they're turned out to be really popular.
Yeah, they are.
So
the newspapers really did some newspaper work.
Yeah, because it's fun, because 800 words is what, like 3-5 pages.
Yeah.
Right. It's a lot of work. Right.
Yeah, but it allows you to have a nice quick read and then move on to the next story.
Yeah.
Which is, I think easy to digest. Can you think of any particular stories that really kind of wowed you? Or I don't mean to put you on the spot, but if any come to mind.
You're putting me on the spot, really.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really good things in there. If one comes up, I'll bring it up.
All right.
Now it's running around in the back of my head. So Dolly, questions, please.
Okay. Well, the second one is that when you're researching this and everything, I want to know what your honest opinion is now, or your learned, knowledgeable, cognitive even estimation of how many people have been contacted by ET within the range of your research. How many do you think there are?
I don't have contact numbers because
there's no
database for that.
Okay. All right. So let's just put it in the sightings. Okay.
I had people come to me afterwards. Very prominent people in the UFO community called me up and says, "Hey, could you do the same thing that you did with this data and maybe get a hold of like Whitley Strieber or something like that?" Because he had tens of thousands of people wrote them, and just, not nobody's name, just like quantify when and where, and that type of thing. And Whitley would never sit down and talk to me, so I could never do it. Rice University has all the papers now, and I don't. I'm a retired lady, and I don't have the resources to go to Rice. Okay. But I have a sense of let's say it this way. People were saying there used to be a formula in the UFO community: 1 in 10 people reports what they see. Okay, but the number doesn't work. Okay, so then somebody else said, "Well, Cheryl, it's 1 in 10 people report it, and then or 1 in 10 people report it, and only 1 in 10 after that something else." I don't remember what it was, but it basically boiled down to a very small number. But it still didn't work against actual reports to 2 major national databases. Okay, so we worked out the statistic. And we tried it against individual states and then mashed it all up to all the states. It basically works out to 1 in 257 people reports what they see.
Okay.
We did a bell curve. We did a bell curve. Okay. And one end, it went from 1 in 150 people to 1 in 450 people. And the top of the bell curve was in the 250, 275 range.
Well, with Newfork and MUFON having a database just together of what, 200,000 or 300,000 reports. So basically we can easily times that by 100.
So, probably.
I mean, 200.
Yeah. Good.
Which that's just primarily United States.
That's the United States, and I have had mail from all over the world asking me to do a global one. The problem is when I tried to reach out to all these different countries, it was a lot of databases. These things are mom and pop operations, websites and things like that, and they were in different languages and things like this. And they didn't want to. They thought I was trying to rob them, So I just gave up trying to get the information.
Yeah, too bad. There's a guy in here who's like, "Well, where's UFOs over Poland and where to find them?" We need somebody
from there to crank that one out. That's right. And that's going to be hard to do.
My first requests were coming from England. Okay. And then I got requests from Australia.
Okay, and Canada for that matter. But in Canada, I referred them to names going off my head is a professor up there that does all this stuff. Does the same. My counterpart up there. Pardon me?
Not Avi Loeb.
No. Professor
Okay.
in Canada.
Oh,
Chris something.
okay.
But that's the deal. I can't do the global numbers, but one of the best estimates I've seen is about 10,000 a year. About 10,000 a month globally was one. And I really, when I ran my numbers against it, doing estimates, I said that number's as good as anything I've seen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is my experience. This is what knowledge I'm walking around with. Every single human being born on this planet for the last 175 years has been known to ET. They've tracked everybody. They have that kind of technology and they have the ability to do that. Whether they physically go see them or not is a whole nother matter entirely, because they do, like any good scientist, they have sample groups.
Yep.
Okay. And so they work it from that vantage point. It's like making a grid out in the ocean and you're counting everybody and then you're identifying everybody and then you're doing all this other kind of work to get a good idea of how healthy this grid is.
Yeah.
In whatever sphere it's the ecosystem that it's in. So
I've interviewed 4 families that we're every now and then it's a columnist. I got invited to somebody's house.
Okay.
And of course, I always took somebody from security from the newspaper with me.
Yeah.
And as soon as we figured out it wasn't a lynching party, I usually ended up with a beer and a burger in my hand. The matriarch or patriarch of that family would take me, introduce me to all the relatives at a family reunion. We want you to meet Uncle Ralph. He flew in B-25s in World War II, and he's seen Foo Fighters or something like this. But 2 of the matriarchs in 2 different situations took me aside, took me inside, showed me their family albums. And we're going back into tintypes.
Yes.
Our family has been monitored by those folks for 4 generations that we know of.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's much more prominent than people realize.
Yeah, you follow families. Absolutely.
Yeah, well, that was in your little influence thing. Generational was the last item there I saw.
Yeah.
So also, I'm totally agree with you. I have asked a lot of people, and when I interview them, did you report this? I've gotten maybe 4 or 5 yeses to people, because they'll usually say, what's MUFON? New Fork, never heard of it. No,
I hear that. I hear that a lot. There was also a lot of people that say, "Oh, I won't go to those sites because they probably talk to the government, and I'm afraid of the government, so I'm going to talk about it on Facebook."
So, yeah, exactly. They don't realize that they're being watched everywhere. Yeah.
And people were. I've had a couple of people say to me, "I'm afraid the Men in Black are going to show up." They're not going to show up to you. Okay. My door, yes, they do. Okay. They bring coffee and donuts and tell me what I can't talk about. Okay.
All right. Well, we have about a half an hour left. So I'd love to go
ahead.
Get some questions. But first, let me announce the winner. Drum roll. The winner of the 3 books from Heidi Hansen. One who came closest to our secret number, which was 578, is Becky Duncan.
Yay, Becky! Fantastic.
Thank you guys for participating. We're going to have to do this again. That was fun. So
Becky, write down Preston's email, prestonufo@gmail.com. We need your name, your address. Don't forget the zip, because those books will be coming to you.
Yeah, and here I'll flash my email right here at the bottom of the screen. Thank you, Becky. Thank you all for participating. That was a lot of fun. I wish we're going to do this again. I've got a lot of books, so I think this might be a fun thing to do.
Yeah.
And to Justin, that just set up, he loves my enthusiasm. Hey, honey, I come to a party. I am the life of the party.
There you go. I love it.
Very cool. All right. Well, that was fun. Okay. Be sure and email me, Becky, PrestonUFO@gmail.com, and we'll get those books to you. Those trees will be planted in your name. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
Questions, please. We got some
questions in chat.
Okay.
Yeah, all you guys, if you have a question, now would be the time to type it in, because they're going to go fast. Here, the first one is from Brian Morgan. He's kind of asking in chat, but it's a question, so I start it. And he says, just out of curiosity, what do you think of Arrow? Still clinging to the notion that ETs don't exist and all that nonsense. You know about Arrow, the Arrow Alto name. Oh, gosh, it's a mouthful. Anomaly Reconnaissance Office.
Yeah.
I think that says it all.
I think it's pretty childish to think that we're alone in the universe. Okay, there's been too much evidence that they've been with us over the ages. Okay, you may think Ancient Aliens is a piece of crap television program, and there's a lot of episodes that are a piece of crap, but they do convey suggestions of good information that suggests either we've either had an extremely advanced culture here eons and eons ago, and they wiped themselves out many times over, or somebody else is visiting us. And I've seen too much evidence of somebody else visiting us.
Correct.
Okay. And if you wanted to have, I got taken when I was 14. Okay. And you know what I dread? I dread one of these genetic history, 23andMe ancestry thing. That one day somebody's going to come up with showing me up as dad alleles. That I'm going to be their dad, because I know those guys took his sperm. Okay, wow. I know for a fact. So that's haunted me. Now people say, "Did you ever have any children?" No, not by my own loins. If I did, they're Vietnamese and they're Korean and they're about 50 years old.
There you go.
Yay! There's Becky. She got the message. Congratulations, Becky.
Okay, questions.
Very cool. All right, let's get some more questions here. This is from Sly Martins. Why do ET craft need batteries? They draw power from the vacuum at any point, when and where needed. It's more probably a Dolly question, but
well, first of all, they power up with a type of nuclear energy that we don't have on this planet, and it's the type of nuclear energy that isn't dirty. It uses itself completely and it turns into another element. But when they're in atmosphere with us, they cannot use nuclear power because it would burn us all straight the hell and back. So they go to battery power. They can still have a graviton wave because the batteries are charged enough to hold that much energy for a certain amount of time. And that's why they fly in and out rapidly, because they have to go on nuclear, come back in nuclear. That's why they also need water, because they've got to cool the bloody thing, because they're hotter than 27,000 degrees when they come in atmosphere, and you couldn't tolerate that 500 feet over your head if you wanted to. It would kill you. The radiation is pretty high at that point, so they cool off. The batteries keep them flying like they can. Their top speed is Mach 9 in atmosphere if they're just flying around here. Okay, that's better than 27,000 feet per second is close to Mach 9. That's how fast they can go on batteries. When they power up, you'll see one go at a certain height, about 55,000 feet. They'll power up at that point and they'll go poof. When they take off from the ground, they're at Mach 9. When they hit that point, you'll see them power up again and they'll leave. It's a very, very calculated process of movement that they use. They also use our electromagnetic field lines to power, because it's attracting and repelling energy on our planet's surface, where they're able to maintain, anti-grav. And right now, because they're not here, they haven't been here now for almost 2 years. For that reason, because our magnetosphere is changing, it's down 40%. Our poles are not finished changing, and we have huge, monstrous anomalies that they are not willing to take the chance with. So it's a very complicated situation. Bob Lazar is going to come out with a lot of stuff in February. You need to watch for that, because the boy really does know what he's talking about. And I can't wait for that, actually, because he's a better explainer than I am.
So it's not my imagination. It's like everybody got out of Dodge.
Yes, it is not your imagination. They left. They bloody left. Yeah. Too many crashes. They couldn't do it anymore. Nobody ever shot one down, by the way. Their fields are magnificent. We don't have the technology to down one, but our electromagnetic grids did, and we have pilots that are just like you all. We make mistakes, and we'll lose cohesion with the planet, and they go down, or they'll get lightning struck and cohesion loss at the same time, which is a nasty bad thing to happen to a craft, and they'll go down. So yeah, no too many crashes. They were done. They were not going to give you any more technology after that, so they left. So
they have rules.
Yes.
All right, I'm going to bring up the questions that go most directly towards you, Cheryl, but then we'll cover the other ones.
Please go ahead.
So here is one from Michael Kennedy. I would like the guest's opinion on current events, such as the worldwide, I'm guessing the UFO drones and stuff that's going on in New Jersey and spread out all over the world.
I think the drone thing is terrestrial. I think it's coming from our species, not from those guys. Like Dolly just said, everybody got out of Dodge about 2.5, 3 years ago, and they kind of left us with a check at the restaurant. Say.
Yeah, that's basically my assessment. I've gotten some pushback on it, but I've got good reasons for feeling that way.
From everything I've seen, both from a data standpoint and then talking to my monk friends, we've all reached out and we can't touch them right now for some reason.
Exactly. They're gone. They're
and
not.
The monastery people, believe me, the folks in the monastery, we're well familiar with these folks. Okay.
Wow, that is very interesting. Okay. Well, that's another piece of...
Next question.
All right. I like this one from Peak. As a data scientist, what's the most helpful thing I could do for the research community? Where are the biggest gaps someone with my skill set could help? That's a good question.
Ooh, God, where were you about 8 years ago? Goodness. I could really use you then. I can't get the databases now. National UFO Reporter, et cetera, I could get them. They've been very cooperative, but MUFON has completely shut me out from any resources whatsoever. And that's it. That's it. In fact, they never really gave me the time of day. They'd invite me to the conferences and then put me in some kind of special thing where I had an audience of less than 50 people or something like that. And it was obvious they would never give me a plenary talk, that type of thing. So I haven't had much to do with them since. And they used to say, well, you're not a member. I said, I can't be because I'm a journalist. I'm under very strict rules of conflict of interest. So,
holy smokes.
Pete, what I would suggest that you start doing is that you start watching the actual governments of the world and create databases about movement by them and what they're up to.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
What else you got?
I mean, honestly, this field is crying for research in all aspects. So any contribution you can make, from educating people to just studying various aspects, I think is helpful.
The people I got the most pushback from was our own community.
Yes.
There was actually the last 2 years I didn't have any podcasts or any shows, any conferences to go to, and somebody took me aside sometime back recently and pointed at a particular YouTube that was done from a conference. Okay. And I introduced myself with a picture and it showed what different looks of me was over the time I transitioned and became Cheryl from back when I was a Navy or a combat person. And I said, because of my intelligence training, this is what gave me the skills and the analysis skills to do the kind of research I do. They edited that out of the public version. Now, we wondered why they did that. And as I pushed people on it, I found out was all this anti-trans rhetoric had starting to roar up. And it's because I'm a trans person and they're trying to eradicate us. So,
yeah, I also have the direct feeling that any authority that you might have is not good for them. See what I'm saying? Any authority you have, and authority comes in the form of knowledge and experience, and they're not playing with that anymore. They're actually so disinformation and spitting yarns that anybody who directly contradicts them is a bad thing for them. So they haven't.
I'm going to bring up another question, and I'm not sure how much you're going to answer on this. This is from Fab22, asking a question for Cheryl. Are there any good sightings whilst in your submarines days?
Modern nuclear submarines don't have a big window, unlike the sea view back in those days. Okay, people we used to come on tour and they'd come in. Where's the window? There isn't one. We fly by sensors. Okay, and no, none whatsoever. We didn't deal with any USOs that we know of. Okay, and that's all I can tell you. Okay.
Right.
Submarines just weren't the ideal vessel for that sort of thing.
Yeah, I will say I did interview a gentleman by the name of Ray Sachs, who was on the USS Clamagore in 1971, going up the east coast of the United States. But they were on the surface. He was on a lookout with another petty officer and the commander and second in command when a USO did show up and paced their submarine right off the side of it. Of course, any craft can't come within a quarter mile of a sub?
Yeah.
Something like that. That would be considered a close miss.
Yeah. Okay. I did spend 6 months on a destroyer because I was between schools.
Oh, wow.
And my primary skill was I was in what they call an ETR in those days, in my low rank. I was a radar specialist. And I did track something once that was over 1,900 miles an hour on the screen. And I was basically taken aside a little while later and said that never happened.
Yeah.
Holy smokes.
Yeah. I have an ex-boyfriend from way back when. He was on a destroyer. I know the call numbers. I'm not going to tell you the name of it because it's decommissioned now anyway, but it was DDS 965. Okay. And he wrote me a letter. It was insane. It was on legal size yellow paper, manila paper. And he started in the middle and he started doing circles like this all the way out to the ends of that paper, flipped it over and did the same thing on the other side from the outside in. And I'm like trying to read this thing. And somewhere in all that jumble was we had a sighting.
Yeah.
And burn it. And I did. I burned it. I was terrified for him to get in trouble. So I did. But he told me everything about it.
Preston, in those pictures I sent you, did I send you one called Journey? It's a whole bunch of my pictures on it.
Oh, yeah. You want me to pull that one up?
Put that up for a minute.
All right. Hold on one second. You have 50 books, and I got most of them on here, so give me 1 second.
It's white.
There you go. Oh.
Okay. Boom. Okay, I can enlarge this too.
Oh, nice. Oh, I like that.
So,
Look at
Okay.
you.
Well, don't do that. Don't do that.
okay.
I'm trying to explain. I right now I still do a little bit of activism. I help teach medical personnel what trans people are. And if you listen to some of the rhetoric during the last election, the idea of believing that a kid will go out on recess and come back with his gender changed. You'll notice that the two services. Then I was in Vietnam. I was in the Air Force in Vietnam, and I was in nuclear submarines. I got out of first class petty officer. That guy that's got his arm wrapped around his half face. I was struggling with myself at that point. And the two pictures on the bottom, notice they are smiling because he was her on weekends. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So the deal behind these pictures was to show people that the process of a gender revolution, no matter how fast somebody does it, it takes years. It's a process of discovery. And then there's, things like the medical procedures and things like this, but it's a lot of soul searching, doing a lot of therapy, and also going through your own feelings about things. And it's a very exacting process. It's not done on a whim. They make it sound like that. We are beings that have been born into a body that does not match with how we see ourselves. Imagine getting out of the shower, the steam evaporates at the full length mirror in the bathroom, and you look at yourself and say, that's not right. Okay. And most trans people, that's how they feel. They look at that body and they say, that's not right. And when I finally got into therapy and an adult, at one point I was talking to these psychiatrists and things like this. And finally one of them took me aside and said, we've done all your tests. Honey, you got a girl's brain. It's real.
Right.
Okay? So, I mean, this kind of thing. That's all I'm going to talk about that. But, okay, if you've never met a trans person before, you just met one. And I'm one of the people who got the word transgender into the dictionary. There were 6 of us. There were 6 of us, and there's only 3 of us left alive. And so
being a pioneer is not easy.
a major university took my papers, 25 crate loads, and they have me still sending them stuff. And
Wow.
when I pass, whatever estate is left goes to them to manage all that material. And
I'm going
as
to
the
send this
director,
episode to a friend of my family. You know why? This person knew at the age of 5 when we met this person, my
oh
daughter.
yeah, that's when you know.
And it took him from that moment in his life all the way until he was an adult out of college to be able to even go anywhere with that at all. And he's made the transition. Okay, he's she now, and I won't say her name, but my daughter, when I found out about it, I kind of already knew. In your head, your parents know, friends of parents know. Okay, I was around this kid a lot. He's always in my house. We took care of him for a while. And she said, "Are you going to be upset?" And I said, "About what?" And then she told me. I went, "Hell no. Yay. As long as this person is happy, what the hell is everybody's problem?" And it's none of their bother about it.
After I changed, my maternal aunts and my grandmother were the only people who didn't give me any crap.
Okay.
Wow.
My mother and father disowned me and banished me 36 years ago. But my aunts always said they're stupid. They have no idea what the blessed
Her
being you
family
are.
has embraced the whole thing, and it's awesome.
I want to address something somebody said in the chat there. It says we're physical beings, we're not ethereal. Baby, the Buddhist monks introduced me to 5 of my past incarnations. This is just a chicken suit I put on. It's wearing out like an old car with all kinds of ailments. Right. And guess what? Exactly. I'm going to get a new one.
That's right.
So, trust me, you are born again and born again and born again. And people say to me, "Well, do you know who you were the last time?" Look in the mirror. You're you. Okay. You just got a different chicken suit.
That's right.
Now, people say, "Who were you in the last time?" Yeah, okay, I was a Nazi sailor on U-550, and it went down off the coast of Boston on the 16th of April, 1945. Okay? Yeah, I suffocated to death. And before that, I died of a fever. Before that, I died of childbirth. Before that, I was run through with a spear. Okay. And I made a joke with some of my students some time back. The last those I can touch really clear. The last 50 lifetimes. Remember, I spent 7 years in a monastery exploring this stuff with yogis teaching me how. And it usually ends up being drowned, starved, childbirth, whether eaten by animals, whatever, war. So.
All right. Yeah, you guys, I'm watching chat. I know I've skipped a few questions. I'm going to the questions that address Cheryl directly. We just did a Q&A. We're always happy to answer questions, and I'll get to some of them if I can. But we've got Cheryl here.
Short of the classified stuff in my ATM pin, I'll tell you anything.
Because some of these are really kind of dolly questions.
I know. You can do it. Cheryl's here.
But here, let's do this one.
And Bridget, that term chicken suit, that came from one of my llamas.
I like that. I really do. That's awesome.
So here's a great one, which I thought, I love this question. It's from CT Godard Guy 85. What more can you tell us about the Buddhist monastery's connection with ETs? Do they write about it? What do they say?
Let me give you a good one there with this one. I had been in the monastery about a year and a half. Okay, there were 2 other wicked priestesses that we were all sort of on sabbatical. Okay, running with the monks and nuns. And one day, the High Lama, the Orthodox tradition of Tibet, came, and he had done a big talk in the temple. And after all the lay people and guests had gone, things like this, we put out the backyard barbecue, and there was like 35, 40 monks and nuns out there, mostly nuns, and about 15 monks, and the rest was like 35 nuns. And they put the things out there. He's out there playing basketball with some of the younger monks, that kind of thing. And he was a great guy. So somebody we're all sitting there eating our burgers and things, and got gathered around him. And somebody asked him, he says, we talk in Buddhism about the universe is teeming with life. There are beings everywhere. Okay. And Buddhist thought goes along that line. And so one of the girls said, are there any beings on the moon? And the Lama looked across all the monks and nuns, and then he points at me and Vicky. You two have been touched by Dakinis, sky dancers. He says, how many beings on the moon? And I looked at Vicky and she looked at me and I said, well, it is seasonal. She says, yeah, I know. So the next thing you know, we answered back, right now? And they said, yeah, 5. and the rest of the monks and nuns wouldn't talk to me and Vicky for almost 2 months.
Oh my God. Oh Lord, it freaked him out. You freaked him out. Oh my God.
Other questions, please.
Now, a few of these are Dolly questions, but here's one from John. He's like, ask my question. Dolly, why have we been chosen? That is the abductees. So many times, for what reasons? I believe my experiences have changed me and influenced thousands. What do they get?
They don't get anything. You get it. You get to awaken. You get to start realizing who you are, where you are in the universe, and it is up to you to meet and greet them. They sent the call. You're answering them. Wake up. There you go.
They made you a member of the club, Bug.
That's right.
All right. Let me see. Is New Fork still in operation? Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Sure
just newfork.org. Boom, it come right up on your web.
Okay. Why do UFOs need landing gears? Why do they need windows?
They actually don't need landing gears unless they land, and it's only enough to keep them up off the ground because they really don't like leaving smooch marks. They can land belly flat, or they can land on gear, whatever it is that they need at the time. It depends on the UFO itself as well. Windows is something that every craft can open and create on its own. The craft can refigure itself. It is a living.
It's a smart craft, yeah.
Yeah, it's a smart craft. And so if they want to look outside, they will create a window to look outside. So it's basically for whatever is going on and whether they need or not. They've also been known, the Turkey one that I've told you that I've flown, and I have, in 2008, we were down low enough in atmosphere. One of the Greys decided to hang out the window with his legs hanging over. And some of the film, you can actually see him doing it. So yeah, they're weird people.
One other consideration to go with that. Matter is very immutable. It can be changed very easily, and to some degree, how one of my Yogini teachers put it, he says, everything we see around us from our perspective is an illusion, and we can change it with the will of thought.
Right. It's not fixed. It's gravity heavy, but anything, even in this dimension that we're in, is pure light. And light is your key to understanding how that works. Okay.
Yeah, this is all a manifestation, baby.
Yeah.
All right. Here is an interesting question from Michael Kennedy. Are there any trans ETs?
I don't know. But let me give you this viewpoint.
That's the dog.
That's the dog?
He's going to have an opinion.
Mm-hmm. Okay. First thing, Western sex change is a white man's solution to a spiritual problem.
Exactly. Thank you.
Right. Okay. And I said this in my church sermon, not this past Sunday. Okay. Because I was asked to do a talk about trans people. And the deal is that they came up with sex changes so they could, the original intention for sex changes was these homosexual guys, we should make one of them into a girl so that they're going to be a nice heterosexual couple, and that isn't what the deal is, because you're just simply misaligned from your body, because you've been many other things. And if I've been a woman 10 times before this lifetime, maybe that carries into, hey, I don't look right. What the hell is that? That kind of thing, and that's the view. Okay.
Yeah.
This body is an illusion. Who we really are is actually a unity being, where the combined energies of all of the genders, and that's the deal. And when I say all the genders, there's plenty of them.
Right. ETs are highly evolved beings. They are billions of years in advance of us, and their morality, their spirituality are off the charts. Their knowledge is off the charts, and where they are now, if I can explain it a little bit to you, because I don't think I can go all the way with this, they are who they are and they love who they love. That's the closest I can tell you. Their personal objective opinions of themselves are oneness with everything. They're psychically in touch with each other 24/7, so there is no separation from them of gender. You can be biologically male or female, but they're still not separated.
They feel your pain.
Yes.
You feel theirs.
Yes. So that's where they're at. Okay.
There was a point somebody made about that a minute ago. Remember, this body is a physical manifestation.
That's right.
Our culture tends to look at us from the viewpoint of our reproductive organs.
Correct.
One set of reproductive organs makes you lesser, and one set of reproductive organs puts you on top and gives you all the privileges. But
Right.
the bottom line is about 2% of the population are born with either ambiguous gendered organs, or there appear to be one set of organs, and then they find out. Give you an example. I knew a boy who just as much as like a boy like I did in gym school, and then they found out, and when he's 14, he had ovaries, he had a uterus, and by the time he was 16, he was starting to grow breasts. Okay.
Right.
If you grow up on a farm, you understand that nature is messy. You see how these animals are born. The Native Americans figured this out, and they let the children choose who they wanted to be in their society at about age 10 to about 15. And they could choose whatever social role they wanted. It could be a male's role, a female role, and it could be a girl going in and hunting with the men. Okay. And it would also be somebody who is both genders. There was a particular person, we call them two souls these days, that was a two souls in Zuni culture back in the 19th century. And when the Smithsonian took pictures of the tribe, she stood between the women and the men as that bridge between the genders. And I tend to look at myself that way.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Kind of beautiful, actually.
Yeah.
All
Other
right.
questions, please.
Here's one which is kind of related to this, from Raymond Woods. Hey, everybody. Love the truth of this show. From my own encounters, I wonder why some are forms of pure energy. Because I think as we evolve, at some point, we're probably going to leave gender behind.
Yeah.
As we go to the, I don't know if this is true or not, but having had out-of-body experiences, sometimes I become a little just ball of light. I'm beyond the physical body at that point.
Right. Outside of this dimension, it's gravity heavy. The fourth dimension has even less than that. The fifth dimension has almost none at all. Most fifth dimensional beings are non-corporeal, just so you understand. And they will show themselves to you in any way you want to understand what
Your physical body, but they might change on you in 5 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah.
And the thing is, people think, they grieve. In the Buddhist monastery, I was made a death and dying nun because the Lama looked at me and said, "You've seen death?" And I said, "Yeah, I was in Vietnam, for God's sakes." And I got to do death rites, helping people pass that type of thing. There's a process to it. And I was trained to do that. And I still do that. What's funny about all of that is that people say, "Well, they're gone now." And I said, "No, reach out to them. They're not that far away. They're a heartbeat away from you, And they said, "What do you mean?" And I says, here. And here's how I talk to my dead dad. Daddy, will you come to me?
Preston goes, "Mama, mama, mama." And I just wait for him to show up. My great-grandmother's with us tonight, just so y'all know. She started playing stuff on my phone, so I knew she was here. And it's like she's listening to this whole conversation, and I find that really cool because my grandmother was it. She knew stuff, unbelievable stuff. So I'm very happy.
I learned just how to seek people out. I don't call them anymore. I go to them.
Yep.
Per the one person there, Two-Spirit, Wing-Tay. I used to be called Wing-Tay.
Yes.
Since that time, I've just gone ahead with the more Western term of two souls. That's one other question. People say, "Well, you got a wife. How'd she deal with the train?" No, I met her 20 years ago when I was in the monastery. Okay. And we grokked. We liked each other. And she fell in love with me, the being behind these eyes and behind this flesh.
You love who you love.
Exactly.
Yeah, and people say, "Well, wait a minute, you went through all that trouble to become a girl, and you fell in love with women? Hey, what's not to like?"
All right, John
And
Schaefer.
I'm not insulting any men, but I found them to be bony and smelly. But
John, you know what? We're going to do another Q&A. and we can go.
Yeah,
deep
we'll go
this,
into that, deeply into that.
It's
Hold on to that.
generational on one spot. Sometimes ETs will contact you because you have a job to do and they want to facilitate that, or they're attracted to you for some reason.
Oh, yeah.
There's could be a lot of things going on here.
There are multiple reasons why. So
And if you don't roll with it first, they'll get you kicking and screaming. Trust me.
Exactly.
yes.
All right. So we just got a few minutes left.
Sure.
Cheryl, do you want to give any last words to our listeners? I'll pop up some more of your books here. So people
If you want to know the sightings for your state, by the way, if you get the book and there's no sightings for your county or for your freaking zip code, I'm sorry, we didn't leave it out. If it wasn't logged, we didn't get it. Okay, I've had people give me 1 star because their town didn't have a UFO sighting. The second oldest profession, if you like an adventure story from a girl's point of view, it's a fun book to read. It really is fun to read. Okay, I've had a lot of people tell me they enjoyed it. I had many people, a lot of women have told me they were in tears 3 or 4 times during the book.
So yeah, these are some of the many books Cheryl has.
This is the pink book. This covers we set out to do a 20-year sample. So there's your 20-year sample in the first 20 years of the 21st century. If you're a pagan person or a Wiccan person and you want the view of somebody who's been in the craft almost 50 years, that's the book to get.
Okay, the UFO Beat, Charmaine's Tales of Wonder.
I'm a I started out as a short story writer.
Oh, wow.
And even my novel I wrote in short story form instead of chapters. I wrote 4 short stories, a novella, and a novel length story to make that spy book. I told a 44-year period of this protagonist's life. Here's all the books. There's plenty out there for you in every state. I know some researchers who have bought 4 and 5 books for all the neighboring states around their home state. That type of thing. True Magic's about witchcraft. Okay, and the debriefing that is actually about UFOs. It's a World War II story about a guy gets picked up from the water and he got picked up by a UFO and dropped on a Japanese beach, and they treated him very well because the bikinis from this guy put them in his village.
Okay.
Wow. You've got a lot of stuff. We're gonna have to have you back on. There's just no doubt about it.
And I'm currently writing the prequel. Fans came after me. They wanted to know about Moira Stewart's first assignment, and I'm half through writing it. 42,000 words into the manuscript, and I'm telling the stories of her first mission in Algeria.
Wow.
Very cool. Well, I guess we're at the end of 2 hours. Thank you, Cheryl. This was amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah,
anytime, anywhere.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you're not leaving right away. Once we hang up here, you need to stay on so we can get you on the books for the next.
Oh, okay. But to your fans, you're a great crowd. I love you. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. I want to give a special shout out to a couple of you guys for your really generous super chat donations. Namaste and Star Orchid. You guys, this helps us so much, Bob, in my opinion. Bridget Bambrick, I loved all your guys' questions. It was awesome. You guys were really wonderful in chat today. Another congratulations to Becky Duncan for getting the correct number. So definitely email us. Sorry we didn't get to all of these questions. Do ETs hold grudges? Well, I don't think so.
No.
And other things. But we'll have to get to some of these next time. But thank you, Wes Decker. Truly appreciate it. Thank you all for joining us tonight. Cheryl, we love you. We'll
anytime.
Have you back.
Absolutely. Yes.
All right, Dolly, you want to take us out?
Yes. Thank you for coming with us tonight with Cheryl on this wonderful journey of information and knowledge. We are coming to you live from the beautiful city of New Orleans in Louisiana from the United Public Radio Network at 107.7 FM and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 105.3 FM. We are on Facebook, we are on Roku, we are on Rumble, and we are on YouTube. We love you. We have international people listening to us worldwide on radio from those 2 stations. I would like to tell you all, thank you for joining us and hearing everything we have to say. Please come again next Monday. Cheryl is going to come back. We're making sure. So everyone, bless you all. and have a wonderful week. We love you. Mwah. Bye.
Bye, guys.